What's up, everybody? We're back. Oh, this is the wrong section. We're going to Charizard. So, as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, we are covering Charizard now. Oh my god, everybody's favorite Pokemon. Woo, Charizard! Um, okay, let me not speak into the mic like that. I'm sorry. So, yeah, as I've said in other videos, I am going back and recording videos for all of the Kanto Pokemon that I did before I got to Cloyster and decided to start doing videos. So I'm catching up on all these just to save myself the pain and effort of doing them all at once at the end. I'd rather just stagger them out. So, yeah, these guys have been done for a long time, although I have been making tweaks from when I first did them to now. They have been tweaked quite a bit, actually. A lot of little stat changes like speed tiers and abilities have kind of switched from a couple times. I ended up changing Zard's ability a couple times, gave them a bunch of new moves because I made a bunch of move changes. So, since I put these guys in, since again, these were some of the first ones I did on this new sheet, which was like a couple months ago. Probably I did these guys like 3-4 months ago at this point. Maybe. I would go and check the exact times and everything, but it's not worth it. So, the line as a whole. So, there's a lot to say here. I know other hacks have made them Fire Dragon in the base forms. That's only really necessary in hacks where there is no Mega Evolution. There is Mega Evolution in this hack. Therefore, it is actually better to just have Charizard X be the dragon. These guys can say Fire Flying. It works a lot better that way, in my opinion, from a balancing point of view, and also just from a soul point of view, because they're Fire Flying. There's not that many Fire Flying types in the first place. There is a Talon Flame, Cast Form in the Sunny form, and then one more that I can't think of right now for some reason. Oh, Oricorio. So it's really not a lot of competition. And they all work out. They all have very nice interactions with one another. And that's for the Fire Dragons. There's only two. It's Turtonator and Charizard X. So I love Turtonator. It's gonna be a fun one to get to. But yeah, these guys are strong as ever. I mean, they've always been strong. But there is a pretty significant amount of changes. One of the most significant being that base Charizard is actually good, because the main reason. So I've covered this in a lot of other videos where I talk about Mega Evolution, but the base forms of Megas are not unviable anymore. They're not, or like the Megas aren't objectively better anymore. Like there's going to be cases where your pre-Mega or your base form is better than the Mega because it can hold an item, or because it has a different typing, or because it has different abilities, whatever it is. Those are all a pretty big deal. So, add all those factors together, and there's going to be a lot of cases where your base Charizard is actually more viable than a Mega Charizard Y or Mega Charizard X. Despite that, they are still going to be relatively late later on, relatively late Mega Evolutions. Like that's just a fact. This is the fact of how it's going to be. They're strong still. But yeah, I don't really know where to start. This is going to be a longer video also. So if you're here and you're new, hi. And if you're a returning viewer or you're a returning person who's interested in my stuff, then hi as well. And I will say that you might want to get some water or a snack or something, because this will be one of the longer videos, just based off the fact that I have to cover 2 Mega forms and look at the moves. Like they have so much stuff, right? It's gonna take a while. So I got to cut my finger earlier while cooking, and it's like really bugging me. So where should I start? I will start with base Charizard. Also, the pre-evolutions are very self-explanatory. All of the pre-evolution starters keep Blaze, Torrent, and Overgrow. Very, very good abilities now, especially with having Endure as a reteachable TM. They're very, very good. Very underrated abilities. But it's kind of boring to keep them, so I ended up having them change when they evolved to the final form. Like a lot of other hacks have done, that is not new. So that's that. So they have Blaze of one ability, which is good, and their other abilities, Moxie. The whole line, every single Pokemon. So besides Zard X, they're all specially leaning mixed attackers. Charmeleon is pretty much equal offenses. Zard is 10 less attack than special attack, but still a very strong mixed attacker. Zard Y has about 30 less attack, but it's still a very viable physical attacker. And then Zard X is equal. Just like it was always equal before. Only difference is it had Tough Claws, now it has Sheer Force, but I'll get to that later. So, God, just fucking cart, man. It's like deep as hell. Literally from the fucking pepper grinder too. Like it cut into my. It was such a weird. Anyways, God, that pissed off about that. So yeah, they have Moxie. It fits their personality. They are very like overconfident, cocky, aggressive Pokemon. Charizard especially. I mean, Charmeleon it fits. Like encounters a strong foe, it turns aggressive. The excited state, it destroys, close, the unbearable. You know, it it's a very strong contender for Moxie, just based off the personality. Becomes. You guys can just skim these entries. Literally, all of them just scream Moxie. Like, oh, it flies in search of powerful opponents. It never fights on an opponent. It never fights an opponent weaker than itself. Like that just screams Moxie. So Moxie it is. Same with Ruthless. That's why Charizard is Ruthless, which I'll get into. It's a new ability. If you're new here, this is probably super overwhelming. Probably so much shit. Every single move has changed. There's like 5 that aren't, so I wouldn't even bother worrying about them. The vast majority of moves are changed in some way, shape, or form. You can find all those here, just by Control F. Oh, also I have to check something that somebody said. Hold on. Yeah, there is no Scizor. It's a bug. It's not there anymore. Anyways, somebody said it was like a little Scizor image. Happens sometimes. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Yeah, the line is much faster. Not much faster, but Charmeleon is not Charmeleon. Sorry, Charizard Y is much faster, but I'll get into that later. They're a lot stronger overall, slightly less bulky overall. Just fitting to their appearance, in my opinion, they shouldn't really be very bulky. Zard is kind of a fat dragon, but he's not like fat. That was a funny way to phrase that. And I needed more stat points for his offenses because, again, the dex entries imply that Charizard is a lot stronger than he actually is. As for losing solar power, there is another sun-specific power flying, and I feel like it would be lame to have solar power on Charizard and solar rush on cast form, sunny form. Not that those overlap that terribly, like they aren't really that bad, but I don't know. These two abilities are a lot cooler, and they're a lot less. Not that solar power is like bad; it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. It's just, give it to some other stuff. Charizard can use better abilities. Again, not that solar power is bad. It's very strong. It's very strong. Arguably, actually, situationally, not even situationally. It's like, for example, Specs Zard with solar power was stronger than Zard Y with Drought, but obviously you need to set up already, and Zard Y sets it up for itself. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So, yeah, that hopefully covers that for the pre-evolutions. I mean, just stronger based off their appearance. Good attack stat. He has these big old claws and shit. 80 base speed. Very viable until level 36. These guys will be easy to use. They have good moves and stuff. Good coverage. Great coverage. All that coverage is going to take. I mean, Charizard already had a lot of coverage moves, but he has a lot, as you guys can see. So how do I phrase that? Moxie is so you have infinite ability capsules in the hack, and so you can just switch between Blaze and Moxie as you need. So you can run a door set of Blaze, you can run Sash sets with Blaze, or you can just run Moxie and Snowball and get some physical boosts. You have actually I did not give them Flame Wheel, I believe, on purpose for some reason. I'll probably leave it off. I don't think they got Flame Wheel before, so it felt kind of weird anyways. I don't really see them like rolling into a ball or anything like that. So I think it's fine. So what was I trying to say? Moxie's great is my point. So Moxie's great on the pre-evolutions, and Moxie Charizard is obviously great. You have setup-wise, you can use Dragon Dance, you can use Belly Drum, which is not great with Moxie, but it is good. Finishing Blow is huge. Finishing Blow works great with both of their abilities. I'll cover Ruthless in a little bit because Ruthless is really interesting and really powerful. But most interestingly, it has what was I trying to say with Moxie? Oh yeah, Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, and Bulk Up are all viable options. I don't know why I think I didn't get a Nasty Plot literally just based on their because Nasty Plot fits pretty well. I mean, it fits really well. I could totally give it to them, and it's weird amounts to get Nasty Plot now, but I just might be too strong, honestly. With Zard Y, I'm kind of worried about it, so I didn't do it. Just for balancing reasons, but it totally could have had it. But I'll leave it off. I think it's fine to not have it. That also makes physical sets better, having Swords Dance and Bulk Up and Dragon Dance, but no special boosting move. So that's cool. Excuse me. I'm getting a lot of ums today. I'm sorry, y'all. Charizard, mixed attacker. So again, dex entries, and just looking at the appearance of him and the fact that he melts like anything or whatever the fuck, like it's clear that he should be a strong mixed attacker, much stronger than he used to be. And in exchange, he has lost some bulk. So 78, 70, 70 is not terrible. It's just not winning any awards. It's slightly less bulky than Typhlosion, but it is overall stronger. physically, it's much stronger than Typhlosion, especially it's weaker than Typhlosion and it's lower than Typhlosion as well. But obviously it has Megas and stuff, so, and just totally different moves and Fire Flying type, whatnot. So here's why I can cover the other stuff. So Moxie fits Charizard very well. Very, very good ability to snowball with. Here's really important actually. So you get a bunch of like, you have a lot of moves, all right? You have a lot of moves, and it might be overwhelming to look at all these, but they are all pretty important. So for Moxie, you have really good stuff, and this also works with their other abilities, of course, but just specifically, I'll just mention it with Moxie in mind. You have access to Raging Fury. You have access to False Strike and Power Trip and Power Up Punch by TM, all of which are attacking offensive moves that boost your attack stat after you click the move. So Raging Fury is a 50 base power, fire type physical move that doubles in power if they hit you first. So it becomes 100 base power if they hit you before you use it. Otherwise, you're still getting a 50%, sorry, you're still getting a 50 base power move that always boosts your attack. So it's like a fire type Power Up Punch that's better. And hence why it's learned much later, because the potential power of it is 100 and you're still getting that +1 attack. It's very, very powerful. And then at the same level, you also get False Strike, which is stab on Zard X, but it's also just good to have on Zard in general, because with False Strike, you actually will give yourself a +1 accuracy and attack boost. And when you use it, you get 2 boosts, but it's pretty low power. And it's impossible to feint the foe with this move. So they're based off of False Swipe, and then there's a Fairy type equivalent because they're like, Fairy Dragon is like parallel. There's Hold Back, which is Fairy type. Obviously, you guys know what Hold Back is, and this is obviously based off False Swipe. I just changed the name a little bit to make it fit a little bit more for the dragon vibes, because the animation seemed very dragon-y to me, and I just thought it would be a cool way to repurpose the move into something that's actually viable. Obviously, people like using it for catching mons, which is totally normal in regular games, but in this game, everything has a 55 catch rate because this is not a hack. This is not a hack that is geared towards, oh crap, I have to catch this. No, you just throw the fucking Pokeball, and a regular white Pokeball, or sorry, red Pokeball is a 33% chance to catch anything. And then obviously with the higher rate balls, it's pretty much guaranteed. I believe with the quick ball, literally everything is guaranteed to catch. That doesn't matter, right? It's just quality of life shit, right? This hack is for reworks, for using Pokemon you've never gotten to use before, for using fun Pokemon, for having all this cool rebalance shit, right? That the hack is not for like soulful, oh, I have to lower this Pokemon's HP to catch it. That doesn't matter here. That's something that people enjoy, which I'm sure it is. You can either play the original games or play some other less, I don't want to say ambitious, because that sounds like I'm trying to say that other hacks aren't ambitious, but less, I don't want to say competitive either, because this is a competitive, it's just a different type of hack, all right? Something that's more up your street, up your alley, I guess. It's not for everybody. But what I was saying is False Strike is Dragon, so it's stab on Zard X, but it's useless with Sheer Force. It's only good on Levitate sets, which are great. I'll cover those in a second. But Moxie, great with False Strike because you get the accuracy boost, so you can use that in conjunction with inaccurate moves, such as Dive Bomb, which is a flying type high jump kick. Wicked Blow and Storm Throw, which are both 90% accurate as well. And they become 120 base power overall. You have Stone Edge, which is the same. Those Wicked Blow, Storm Throw, and Stone Edge are all 100% crit moves that are 80 base power and 90% accurate. So that's very good to have, especially with Ruthless, which I'm kind of starting to talk about in a little bit. I promise I'll get to it. It's really, really good. Originally, I believe I had something else. I think I had Turbo Blaze, which is like fitting, but I don't know. It's kind of lame, and I like how only Electabuzz and Magmar had Turbo Blaze, so I ended up changing it. Also, just because I thought Ruthless was cool. I believe I made these changes back when Ruthless was called something different, and so that didn't really fit Charizard, but I figured Ruthless does. Also, I made a bunch more moves that fit him. But oh yeah, I remember why I changed it. It's because he had like Heat Wave, and so I'll talk about Moxie real quick a little bit more, and then I'll quickly get into Ruthless. So with Moxie, the last thing you have that's impressive besides all that setup stuff, and also just having it in general, like you can just run a Scarf Zard with Moxie and just snowball. That's all you got to do. You can run Scarf Zard with like just regular accurate attacks, like Dual Wing Beat is 90 base power overall, has a good flinch rate. It's just a solid move. You can run that in conjunction with like Fire Lash, which is just a very good, strong physical fire type move. It's 85 base power, and it has a 100% chance to drop defense. So on the second use, it'll be stronger than stuff like Blaze Kick. The first use is weaker than Blaze Kick being 95 base power and 95% accurate. So, you just got cool stuff like that. You can totally just run a Scarf set with like the Wing Beat, Fire Lash, and then 2 coverage moves. Nothing wrong with that. With Moxie, you get that boost up and then just, start going to town, going to work. But obviously I'm talking about the more nitty-gritty stuff, and there's a lot more options than that. You also have access to dual stat priority, so you have Ignite and Power Dash for physical priority. You have Draco Jet by Tutor for Dragon type priority on Zard X, as well as Twister by level up once you evolve into Charizard. You also have Gust, and I didn't give them Aerial Ace. That's an oversight because this was before I removed Aerial Ace as being a TM. They would appreciate that, wouldn't they? They would. Does this fit character-wise? In this slot? Let's see. I doubt it does. I'll fix this in a second. Does this fit? Yeah, it doesn't. That's what I thought. All right, no Aerial Ace. It's fine. Zard, Y has Aerial Ace, so it's not as big of a deal. I don't know. I guess I could throw it somewhere, but I think it's fine. Oh god, I really need to like rework it because if you guys can't tell, like their moves are really messy because I just kept like these were very early mons I did, so they want to learn so many moves that it was really hard to like put them in this like find a spot for them. You know, it was just difficult to find a spot, and so eventually I just started doubling up on stuff that doesn't really make sense to double up with. For example, like what's the relationship between like Razor and a Battlecry? There isn't one. I just didn't have room to put the abilities. You know, it's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Let's hope it doesn't bother too many people. It's kind of bothering me if anything, so I might fix it, but not. If I fix it, it'll still get it'll still get all these moves. If I change anything after this video comes out, it'll be that it gets Aerial Ace somehow, but not a big deal. If you're wondering, Aerial Ace is 55 base power plus 2 priority. There is a handful of moves like that: Shockwave, Spark, Swift, Aerial Ace, Think Fast, which is a new physical psychic type priority move, and then I believe those are the 5 moves that do that are 55 base power plus 2 priority. The rest of the priority moves are just 45 base power to 50 base power, besides some signature stuff and other stuff. So yeah, that's that for Moxie, right? Power Trip, I've covered it in a billion change guides at this point. If you're new here, I'll quickly touch on it very quickly. It gives you +1 attack each time you use it, which is very powerful. However, to balance that, it only has 3 PP, so you can't just click Swords Dance and then sweep an entire thing with Power Trip. You can only use it 3 times, meaning you can only get 3 kills maximum with Power Trip, which is just that's like totally fair. I mean, it's still amazing, extremely good. Honestly, it's so powerful to have, despite not being stab. Obviously, it's not stab, so it's not like you're gonna always run Power Trip, but it's very good in conjunction with Moxie. It's very good in conjunction with another thing is Finishing Blow, and this will be my transition into Ruthless. All right, so Finishing Blow is a 35 base power move that always lands crit. So it becomes 52 point. It basically becomes 53 base power, and what that does is it's from Fellstinger, so it gives you +3 attack when you kill something. So like that's great with Moxie, that's great with Power Trip, that's great with Raging Fury, that's also great with Ruthless. Another really cool thing you can do with Charizard is you can get a Moxie boost and then Mega Evolve. So that's another reason that Mega Charizard Y being physical is way more viable than you might assume by looking at the stats, because you have Moxie as the pre-Mega, so you can get that Moxie boost and then Mega Evolve and get Aerial Ace, and you have a lot of good aerial options. Additionally, you have a large, sizable boost to your speed stat, because I know it might be overpowered. Oh my god, Charizard Y is so strong. It is strong, but it's not that bulky, and there is a lot of really powerful shit. If you're worried about yourself dealing with it, you are totally gonna be able to deal with everything. You have so much priority, so much Focus Sash, super effective, varies. Like, you have so many ways to work around this kind of stuff. It's not even really a problem as long as you're smart with the way you handle it. As for the player of using it, yeah, it's strong, but also if you take a look at the speed tier guide, which you can also access by going to the sheets, you can see the new speed tiers for all these Pokemon and just look at the overall speed levels of the hack. They are much higher. You can see here, these are only from the mons that are currently finished. A couple of these will be changing when I get to them. Like, I know I'm moving Raticate down. Base Raticate is a little too quick for me, for my taste. But overall, like, these are pretty much staying. By the end of the hack, I'll probably end up changing some of these around, just, min-maxing like +1, +2 speed, -1 speed, that type of deal. But overall, these are the general speed levels of the hack, and that is a big deal because you can see where Charizard Y stands. It's not as good as you might think, although 111 speed is still great. I mean, US speed so much that way, but you also are outsped by a good amount. So yeah, well, the reason for that being the Dex talks about how Zard Y is super fast, like greater than a jet fighter is what Zard Y is here. And then here it says overwhelming power, hence sheer force, making perfect sense for Zard X. It literally had tough claws before, and his claws are not that tough looking. They're just like piss baby claws in my opinion. So Sheer Force is much better because it's a mixed attacker, and because a lot of the moves that weren't Sheer Force boosted before are now Sheer Force boosted. So you are essentially stronger with Sheer Force than you were with Tough Claws. Only a few moves are missing out on the Sheer Force boost that were Tough Claws boosted. But you also get a shit. I mean, special in general. Special Charizard X is excellent. It's a very good mixed attacker. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But that's the logic for it. For both the Mega abilities, and then Levitate is an obvious one. I don't think he's questioning that. He's flying. He flies. So, and his battle sprite is literally like flying in the air. So, and that's great because Fire Dragon with Levitate is literally only weak to Rock and Dragon, I believe. Let me confirm. I'm 89% sure it's just Rock and Dragon. Come on. And Rock, other Dragon types, you will be killing them if you're faster. Yep, just Rock and Dragon if you're immune to ground. So you're immune to ground, you resist Fire and Grass 4 times, and then you resist Electric Bug and Steel 2 times. So that's just really, really good to have. And only 2 weaknesses, one of them is basically to yourself. And the other one, you have a shitload of coverage to hit. So Charizard X, yeah, Sheer Force is extremely powerful, but Levitate is also very useful. So now I need to get back to square A. What the fuck am I trying to say? Square A. That's not even. Yo, what the hell did I just say? Square A. What am I thinking of? Square base? Is that the term? What the fuck is the term I'm thinking of? Let's get back to square base. Let's get back to base A. I don't fucking Jesus. God. Ruthless. Okay, let me just pretend I didn't say that. Ruthless. All right. Ruthless is a great ability. It's a sniper equivalent. However, it's heavily reworked sniper because number one, the name is much more vague, so it fits literally any Pokemon that's like aggressive or strong. It can fit so many Pokemon. And it mostly fits Pokemon that get access to a lot of these crit moves. So I have reworked critical hits, so that way there are a lot of these moves are all 70 base power, 100% accurate, and 5 PP, meaning these will crit 50% of the time. So on regular Pokemon, if you're running a Scope Lens, any Pokemon can run Scope Lens. However, one balancing thing I have done is that there is only one Scope Lens in the whole game. And then there is, which is from Peniola Ranch, and then there is one later game, you get access to a Razor Claw, I believe, from a scientist. Either Razor Fang or Razor Claw, I forget which one. If it's Razor Fang, then forget I said anything. If it's Razor Claw, then you get 2. You can at most have 2 Scope Lens Ruthless Pokemon on your team at once. However, a lot of the Ruthless Pokemon get 100% crit rate moves late level. Most of them do, actually. Literally all of these guys will get at least one 100% crit rate move. First Impression, Finishing Blow. They're right here. You guys can read, okay? You guys see the types that they are. This top row is just unique stuff. These 3 are 2-turn moves that are very powerful and very strong. And then you have 3 striking moves. So these are 25 base power, but they always crit, and they hit 3 times, and they are 90% accurate. Charizard does not get any of these, so it's not relevant. Then Charizard gets these 3 moves, so Wicked Blow, Storm Throw, and Stone Edge. Storm Throw being because of the fact that he does throw, like he does a lot of throw attacks and like the anime and stuff. You can find like gifs of him just throwing motherfuckers around. He literally gets like Seismic Toss and stuff. Not normally, but like I think it's from TM or some bullshit. I don't know. It's a little weird, but I think it works well enough and it's cool. I can see him like tossing people around. And then you have Aeroblast and Heat Wave. No Frost Breath obviously in this case, but Heat Wave and Aeroblast are extremely powerful because they are 65 base power. They always crit. So with Ruthless and 121 base special attack, you are hitting for, so let's say, super tough. These moves are essentially 146 base power, and you don't even need to run a Scope Lens. They're only 5 base power weaker than the physical moves. You know, these where the fuck did I just do? These ones, right? They're only 5 base power weaker, but they always crit. So you don't need to run a Scope Lens to get that consistent 100% crit rate. Because without Scope Lens, the so the 50% crit rules that Charizard gets are Jagged Edge, Cross Chop. I think I actually might have removed Cross Chop, but it had Cross Chop at one point. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have it anymore. Jagged Edge, maybe X. No, I removed X Edge as well because it's not a TM anymore, so it's only leveled up. None of these are TMs anymore, besides Drill Run, which I can't change from being a tutor. That has to stay a tutor because I can't change the tutor rosters. I can move them around, but I can't like put new moves in unless I change the move that was the base move. Hence why I have stuff like Draco Jet and I don't know, fucking Acid Reflux and shit. So yeah, Zard has Jagged Edge, Night Slash, Jagged Edge, Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, Slash, and Laceration. I believe those are its crit moves off the top of my head. 50% crit moves, which are good for physical sets. And then you get Wicked Blow and Storm Throw and Stone Edge. Stone Edge by TM, Wicked Blow and Storm Throw by Level Up. And then you have Sky Attack by Tutor and Razor Wind by Level Up. And those are so powerful with Ruthless. Those moves are 120 base power, but they will always crit. So they become like absurdly powerful with Ruthless. I mean, with a power herb, they also have a 30% chance to flinch. Oh, yeah, that's insanely powerful. Insane levels of power. Power herb, Sky Attack / Razor Wind is very good on Charizard. And of course, Aeroblast and Heat Wave are pretty late level, just for balancing purposes. I actually probably should have made them later. Their movesets are so their moveset is very messy because I just really have to like keep adding shit in. I guess 54 is fine for Aeroblast, yeah. Yeah, that's fine, actually. It's a fine level. Again, because I also want base Charizard to be really viable, hence why Ruthless is technically on paper maybe a little bit stronger than the other two, but you know, you got to consider the stat boosts and the type changes and whatnot that you get, and the other abilities you get. So yeah, Ruthless is great. You also have, like I said, Finishing Blow, and then First Impression via TM is just nice. Like, a lot of stuff gets First Impression now. It's 95, it's 60 base power, but it always crits. So with Ruthless, that's 135 base power. It's very, very useful to have. It's niche, but the best thing is it's a TM, so you can just teach it on and off. So if you want that super powerful one-time use, you know, instant priority, you teach it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. You know, it's a TM. You just toggle it on and off. Same with their abilities. You're able to switch freely between Ruthless and Moxie, Drought and Aerolate, and Sheer Force and Levitate. That being said, Ruthless as a pre-Mega ability is not as good, although it still has some use. You could use like Ruthless Aeroblast, because Ruthless Aeroblast Charizard is stronger than Mega Charizard Y using Aeroblast, for example, and then you can Mega and get Drought and use your boosted fire moves on the next Pokemon that comes out, for example. So it's situational. You want to give or take. Pick and choose when you want to use these things. Drought is obviously amazing. 128 attack fits Zard Y pretty good. It has less bulk overall, so it's easier to kill, but it's also much stronger physically and a lot faster. So that's really important for Zard Y. It can be really devastating with Drought and Aerolate. So again, like I said, Moxie turns into Aerolate when you Mega Evolve, so you get access to a lot of very powerful normal type moves that will become really powerful with Aerolate. So without Aerolate, you have Dive Bomb, Dual Wing Beat, and Fly as and Acrobatics as your physical, and Sky Attack as your physical flying type moves. So those are all great. Don't get me wrong, like they are really good. Like Dive Bomb is flying type high jump kick. Dual Wing Beat is 90 base power overall. Fly is 80 base power, but it gives you +1 accuracy when you land, which is a niche, but it's there. I mean, I would rather just use Dual Wing Beat, but it's just there for flavor. Acrobatics is good, 100 base power when you use an item, so you can run like Power Herb, Sky Attack maybe with like Acrobatics or some shit. I don't know, or just any gem or a sash, whatever you want. It's niche, but it's there. And then you have Sky Attack, which is obviously extremely powerful with Ruthless, but overall, you know, besides Dual Wing Beat and then eventually like Dive Bomb maybe if you want to risk the accuracy, you're kind of struggling for physical flying options. Not that you're struggling, those are great, but struggling is a very strong word. It's not, you're not struggling, but getting stronger, cooler options is nice with Aerolate, and it also just fits Zard Y really nicely. There's other abilities that would have fit Zard Y as well. I actually had a Hubris at one point, but I felt like it was too strong, so I left it off and I changed it to Aerolate. I just think it's cooler, and also with Aerolate they have access to Slash, which is 84 base power with Ruthless before you get the crit, and when you get the crit, it is let's do the math. So 70 times 1.2 from Aerolate times 1.5 from the crit. 126 base power when you land a crit. Flying type move, very powerful. Inconsistent though, because Aerolate can't run Scope Lens, so it's pretty inconsistent. Another thing is you have Focus Energy as Charmander, so with Ruthless Charizard you can run Focus Energy if you want. Kind of niche, but it's there. To be fair, it's very powerful. Like Focus Energy plus Scope Lens is 100% crit rate as well, so you can just do that and then crit every move instead of having to be restricted to the 50% crit rate or 100% crit rate moves. But those moves are very good, so I wouldn't see how that's an issue. Also, am I recording? Thank God. Okay. So you have access to Whiplash as well, later level. Not that much later, you know, before a couple levels after you evolve, you get Whiplash. So you have Fire Lash, and then you have Whiplash, which becomes flying type with Aerolate. So you have kind of dual stab, 100% accurate, -1 defense moves. So Whiplash becomes what the really? you get 102 base power flying type move that always drops defense. So that second hit will be 30% stronger because -1 defense is a 1/3 defense drop. So you will have a 132 base power or 133 if you round up flying type move on the second use of Whiplash with Air Raid. So Air Raid is very powerful. You also have access to, where did I put Double Edge? Oh, I think I removed Double Edge because strength, yeah, and they just didn't have the room for it on their moveset. Double Edge is really cool, but they don't need it. What was I trying to say? Air Raid Mega Charizard Y also has access to a lot of TMs, so they have access to Rage, which is 80 base power, but you always get a +1 attack boost as long as you are hit while using Rage. So that's really, really strong with Air Raid. You will become 96 base power with that. You have access to Retaliate, which is 95 base power, 5 PP, and it doubles to 190 base power if you hit if you use it after something just fainted, and that's extremely powerful for the trainer, for like trainers to abuse against the player. So like boss battles with Retaliate is really, really dangerous. So that's great. Again, with Swords Dance or Dragon Dance or Bulk Up, Zard Y can be a very good physical threat, as well as getting the pre-mega boost from Moxie. So like, I'm not kidding when I say that that's really good. You can use the pre-mega boost from Moxie and then mega evolve when you need that attack boost and speed boost and Air Raid. You know, until then you can just rack up Moxie boost. You know, you can get +2 from Moxie, kill 2 things, and then mega evolve. You know, you can choose when you mega. It's not like you are forced to do it immediately. So that's very good to have. Otherwise, you have other really powerful stuff like, again, Retaliate becomes 114 base power under Air Raid. With Air Raid, why did I say under? I was thinking of Drought. With Air Raid, and then you have Hyper Voice, which is the same power as Retaliate but special. And then you have access to Hyper Beam and Giga Impact, which are incredibly powerful moves with Air Raid. So those are 160 base power, and if you guys are new to this, you know, if you're just watching this video, you saw this on your recommended or whatever, you're listening to this, Hyper Beam and Giga Impact are one of many new moves that work like Draco Meteor and Psycho Boost used to work. Although they are 150 base power and 100% accurate as opposed to 130 base power and 90% accurate, because the power level again in this hack is just a lot higher. So having the consistency is nice, especially when you have moves that you can technically use that are more quote-unquote reliable. Although using 2 of these moves in a row is stronger than, say, for example, I'm just going to pick a random one. Actually, no, I'll pick a relevant one here. So say Charizard gets Blast Burn, correct? So 150 base power, -2 attack if you use it. -2 attack halves your attack, so, or special attack in this case. So you will be getting a 75 base power on a second hit. If you add that together, it's 225 with 2 uses of Blast Burn. If you take Flamethrower, for example, and you use that twice in a row, that's only 180 base power. Not that that's bad, it's very strong, but it's still weaker. Heat Wave without Ruthless. With Ruthless, obviously, it's stronger than Blast Burn, but without Ruthless, also that's a really good segue into something I want to talk about. But I say this in every Ruthless video and every Mon that gets both Blast Burn and Heat Wave, which is like every special fire type that gets both moves, honestly. So this is relevant for all of them. But what you can do is you can run Heat Wave, so you can run Blast Burn, right? Get that -2 special attack, use it again, and then once you're -2/-4 special attack, you can click that Heat Wave and crit and bypass your stat drops. So that's extremely, extremely powerful option to have. Hyper Beam as well can do the same thing. And under Air Raid, it becomes, well, I don't keep saying under. With Air Raid, that becomes 192 base power flying type move. And it only gives you -2 special attack. So you use that twice in a row, you're still hitting really fucking hard in that second hit. It's extremely powerful. And Giga Impact is the same thing with physical. So you have both of those options from a special and physical side. Those are all your Air Raid moves. Very good stuff. Obviously, Drought is so a main reason you would want to be using. So there's 2 main reasons you would be wanting to use Air Raid on Megazord Y. Reason number 1: Drought hinders your team. All right, that's reason number 1. Obvious reason. All right, say you have water types or whatever the fuck you have that you are worried about the sand hindering your strategies, especially if you're doing a team lock nuzlocke, meaning you can't switch out your Pokemon freely within the box, which I recommend trying. I think it's fun and I think it makes the game a lot harder. Of course, play how you want. I'm sure a lot of people are just going to play this and use whatever the fuck they want. And that's cool as shit. I mean, there's so much cool shit. I don't blame you at all. I could not fault you for wanting to just use all the cool new shit. You know, but I'm getting off a little bit off track. So point being, that's number 1, all right? Number 1 is Drought is not always beneficial. Drought can hinder your strategies. If you're running other weather, if you're just simply don't want the Drought up, maybe it powers up the the opponent too much, maybe it hinders your teammates too much, whatever it is, Drought is not always an amazing ability to have, right? Despite popular belief, right? It's not, or contrary to popular belief, rather. It's not amazing, all right? It's very powerful, but it's not always the ability you're going to want to have, which is why it's nice that you have access to infinite ability capsules to just switch whenever you need to. Again, your starter will literally just be holding an ability capsule that never goes away. You can just use it forever. So Aerolate, so that's advantage number one of Aerolate. Number one is that Drought isn't always good. You know, it can hinder your team. Number two is that you have pre-Mega Moxie. I said this before, but you can, again, get a Moxie boost and then Mega Evolve, so that makes Aerolate really, really worth using on Mega Charizard Y. As for Mega Charizard X, so Charizard Y also, you know, it has slightly better bulk, but overall it's like pretty reasonable bulk. God, this cut is like, oh my god, it's deep, dude. Shit, that's so annoying. Sorry, y'all. This just caught me off guard. It's like really deep. Sheer Force and Levitate. So I already covered the logic of that earlier in the video. It fits really well. It's very powerful and it's better than Tough Claws overall. Despite the fact that Tough Claws doesn't remove your additional effect, I wouldn't really be too concerned. The only downside is that you can't use stuff like Power Up Punch or False Strike, which is kind of a shame. But I prefer Sheer Force logically. Number one, I prefer Sheer Force logically for sure, and I definitely also prefer it mechanically because you can use special sets. So I don't even need to explain the special fire type options for Sheer Force. Physical options also are all Sheer Force boosted, pretty much every move. As for coverage and also Dragon Stab, pretty much all your Dragon Stab is Sheer Force boosted. So if I go to your options here, Dragon type moves, you have access to Draco Tip for priority, which is not boosted, but it's just nice to have that as priority, and it's reteachable by tutor, so that's really nice to have. And then you have stuff like Breaking Swipe. Dragon Claw's not relevant here on Charizard X, although it is nice with, like, I mean, it's okay to have. It's not terrible, but I would rather use Dragon Hammer personally, or Breaking Swipe or something. Or Dragon Rush is obviously your best thing, because Dragon Rush is just Dragon type close combat, and that is Sheer Force boosted. So it's a Dragon type close combat that's Sheer Force boosted. So I don't need to explain how powerful that is. All right, it's very, very good. Dragon Ascent is also extremely powerful. It's another one of those moves that I was talking about earlier, like the Hyper Beam, Giga Impact type moves, but it's physical and it's Dragon type. So there's Draco Meteor and then there's Dragon Ascent. Those are the parallels to one another. So you can retutor on Draco Meteor. Those are not Sheer Force boosted, but they're very powerful. And then you have access to Dragon Pulse on a special side and Dragon Breath on a special side, both of which are Sheer Force boosted. Dragon Fury also is, and it's really strong, but it's really inaccurate. So you'd be kind of crazy to use this, because the advantage of Dragon Fury is that it burns, all right? It's like Inferno, it always burns. So if you're using that with Sheer Force, it's like, what's the point? Just use Dragon Pulse. It's slightly weaker, sure, but it's consistent as fuck. The reason you're using Dragon Fury, the reason... I'm talking too fast. Sorry if I'm speaking fast, guys. I kind of want to... This is going to be a longer one, so I want to make it easier by talking quicker. Also, I just talk fast. Dragon Fury is great, but it's mostly used for the burn effect. If it didn't have that 100% burn rate, it wouldn't be that great. Although 130 base power, 70% accurate isn't terrible. It's like the same as old Thunder, old Focus Blast, so it's not like it's, you know, old Blizzard. Obviously, Blizzard and Focus Blast and all those moves are better now, but, you know, to put it in perspective. So yeah, Dragon Pulse is probably your go-to move. Also, it's reteachable, so that's great. With Sheer Force, that's 130 base power, super powerful move. You have 145 base offenses now, so instead of 130, you have 145, which is significantly stronger. The obvious downside being you are a lot less bulky overall. Especially you're slightly bulkier, but physically you lost a lot of physical bulk. But again, huge power boost and also slight speed boost, 102 base speed, just because I just kind of felt like it. I think that he would appreciate outspeeding some things, because 100 is pretty crowded. So it's just nice to outpace a couple mons. Obviously, there'll be more mons in these as I go on and add more and more Pokemon to the sheets. But for now, this is what we have. So that's nice. That's good with Dragonance. That's good with Agility. It's just nice to have that speed tier. And then you have solid 78, 90, 90 bulk, which is much more fitting. That's another reason I dropped their special defense and defense respectively, is because their high ass bulk just didn't fit their appearance. I know Zardek's like a big dragon. I'm sure he has like tough scales. I'm sure, you know, he's got those big spikes on the shoulders, but I just don't really see 111 defense personally. I think it's way too high. They probably just threw it in there for balancing reasons, and also because they want to make him more physically oriented. So I much prefer the high offensive stats and then the respectable 90-90 defenses, which is good. Don't get me wrong. Like Fire Dragon, 90-90 defenses with access to Roost and Levitate. I mean, that's great. You can run a bulky Zard X still. You can run bulky Zard X with like Battle Cry or Will-O-Wisp, you know, and Roost, and just be like a Stally type mon or a utility mon. Not that It's probably not your best use of Charizard X, but it's there. It's an option, man, and it's nice to have that as an option. Also, obvious benefits of Drought is having access to instantaneous Solar Beam and Solar Blade. That goes without saying. And of course, you can activate teammate abilities and Weather Ball on your allies and all that stuff, and that's all great. Right? That's all very, very great. I don't need to explain that. I already covered all the Ruthless stuff. I don't think there's too much else. I mean, you have like, again, lots of coverage. Nothing here is super weird in my opinion, and all of this coverage fits very well. So I don't need to really take too much time. But you have a lot of good coverage, right? Another thing is that despite having much higher special attack on Zard X, sorry, on Zard Y, and slightly higher special attack on Zard base, I don't know why I said it that way, base Zard, you are still really, really like your physical coverage is still much better than your special coverage. Especially you literally only have fire and flying dual stab. I guess technically Weather Ball and like other weather. Natural Gift becomes any type, 110 base power, but you can only use it once, and it's special. So in terms of coverage, you literally only have access to Hidden Power, Natural Gift, which everything gets for the most part, and then Scorching Sands, and Ominous Wind, and Solar Beam under Drought. So it's not the most impressive, all right? It's really not that impressive. It's not that great special options. I probably would have given them a few more. I probably would have given them like Shadow Ball, Dark Pulse when I was doing them, or if I did them earlier, but I'm too lazy to add it, and I also just don't think they did it. I like how, despite special sets being much stronger, you have a lot less coverage. You only have Scorching Sands and Solar Beam and, you know, the other moves I listed. It's not a lot, all right? It's not a whole lot. Doesn't make them bad. I mean, you don't really, especially on Zard X, you don't need much else other than Fire and Dragon Dual Stab. You don't need much. You really don't need much else. So it's not like it's bad or anything. It's just something to consider. Physically, you have much better coverage. Was my point. So it's kind of interesting to be able to abuse those physical move pool, despite having 10 less attack on base Zard and almost 31 less attack on. Can I do math? Yeah, 31 less attack on Zard Y. It's much less bad than you would think. Its physical sets are still much better than you would think. That's about it. I mean, Inferno Dragon Fury, those are good with like Wide Lens. On base Zard or Megazord. Well, Megazord can't run Wide Lens, but those are cool. Again, Dive Bomb is great. Just as coverage or just as stab on Moxie sets or something. Ruthless sets would probably want to run something else, but no, they can always run Dive Bomb. But yeah. Burn Up, Flare Blitz. There's lots of strong stuff. I mean, Flare Blitz is Sheer Force boosted. Solar Strike, I believe I also made Sheer Force boosted. Solar Strike being a fire type close combat. Yeah. So Dragon Rush and Solar Strike are both 30% flinch rate close combat versions or variants. So that's extremely powerful on Zard X. Just to have essentially stab close combats that are sheer force boosted and 145 base attack. It's good, all right. It's very strong, but it's not anything overpowered. It's not anything that's going to blow your mind. There's tons of bulky shit in the hack. There's tons of tanky stuff in the hack. There's tons of ways to get around it. There's tons of super effective berries and priority moves. And there's so many ways you can maneuver around even the strongest of offensive threats. It's really just a matter of being smart about it. And I will be excited to make strategy guides for my trainer advice when I get to those. Obviously watch those with caution because I will be spelling out a lot of answers, so I would only watch those, number one, if you're struggling, and number two, if you already know what you're doing, because I don't want to make it too easy. I probably won't give every little answer out there because there's also so many Pokemon, it's hard to like talk about every option you have against something. But yeah, I'll probably end up doing those strategy guides with like during my own Nuzlocke or something. I think that'd be really cool to like show you guys my own thought process as I'm doing it. I'm also kind of rusty. I mean, I've been ROM hacking for so long, I haven't done like any actual Nuzlocks in a while. But you know, that information never really leaves. It kind of stays with you. All right, the fact that I'm going on all these side tangents tells me I'm done here. Again, you have much better physical coverage than special. Tons of sheer force boosted moves. Tons of air late moves. Tons of Moxie stuff. Ruthless moves. It's great. All right, Charizard's great. Powerful offensive Pokemon. Can run bulky, can run fast, can run offensive, whatever you need to do. It's great. Great Pokemon. And it doesn't outclass anything, and it's not outclassed by anything. Turtonator, being the only other fire dragon, is way bulkier than Zard X and has incredible abilities that I'll get into when I get to them. I'm excited. And then Mega Charizard Y. Castworm is stronger technically, and then not actually, but like it is when you consider that it has to be in the sun to exist. and it's extremely fast, and also much especially bulkier. And then Talonflame is mixed, but much faster. And then Oricorio is Oricorio. It can change types, so you know, it's 4 Pokemon on one essentially. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more. Hope maybe for Alligator tonight, I'm not sure, but for Alligator's next, and then I'll be recording Blastoise after that. So thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you guys.